Hey folks, welcome to the Sig-Testing meeting. Yeah, if anybody wants to unmute and introduce themselves, now is the time, feel free to. Cool. Yeah. I think we can go ahead and start with, actually, let's go ahead and wait a little bit in case Ben shows up, but otherwise we can go back and talk about it. Yeah, I just want to give a brief update on creating a repo for the test grid UI. This has been discussed in a couple earlier test grid, or sorry, not test grid, but SIG testing meetings, but basically adding a repo within Kubernetes where the test grid UI can live and we can continue the project there rather than the current home of the test grid code, including the backend stuff on GCP/test grid. So the repo creation is approved, sub-project creation is approved, all of that should be good. Next steps, which I think I will do, but some people have also offered to help, is migrate the code from, for the UI specifically, from its current home to the new repo. And then also add an issue standing up some of the things about like what is the current state and what are some of the next things that we can do to like move that from the current MVP state to a more like usable finished state. Yeah, thank you for linking. Yeah, so new home is all set up. The code actually needs to be migrated, and I need to give some of the details on what the last status of that was and where some of those things can go. And especially like one of the things I'm interested in is breaking that down into like much better tasks for people to potentially pick up. But yeah, hoping to do that sometime this or next week. Ricky?
I know there are plenty of other migrations going on in progress. Do you think for when we do switch over, want to switch over to the Kubernetes own test grid code, do you think we'll need like some temporary or new endpoints resources?
Endpoints. Yeah, we shouldn't need additional endpoints necessarily because like the current MVP state means that it works for local testing, but we don't really have like a canonical instance of it. The current front end, for instance, is like the one that still lives internally that we were trying to do a rewrite to like make that no longer necessary for, but we didn't actually make the progress to migrate any of that over. So probably the more appropriate thing would be to make sure that this is in a state that starts being usable and then stand up a alternate endpoint, maybe something with a redirect using the same URL, but with an option to say like use the new UI instead, which I believe should be possible from having fiddled around with redirects before, but I would need to check. Or we could just say like entirely new endpoint with like a beta endpoint or something and switch it over later if we determine that it's like usable enough for everybody. Yeah. Apparently it's very bare bones in that it technically works and it technically can use the API in order to serve requests, but it's not filled out with all of the features that are in the current UI. So, yay.
Cool, thanks.
Any other questions? Cool. Okay. Yeah. Arno, do you know if Ben's coming, or should we just discuss anyways?
I pinged him, so I don't know. We're gonna stay until for like the next 20 minutes and see what's happening. I do have a question about the topic he mentioned in the notes because I don't remember. Basically, during the migration, we need to set up a new GCS bucket to handle the logs. But the question is, in detail, how this is the way basically sync from Kubernetes Jenkins, or we basically say we want a new empty GCS bucket because it's affecting how we want if we basically the decision to do a shutdown or a live migration. So I'm
Yeah.
like, how we want to do that? Because I feel like if we think the bucket, we might not be able to recover the past trial job because that bucket only contains logs based on the unique ID. So I don't know how I think it's gonna be tied. We'll basically reconcile when we do the bucket migration or the
Right.
bucket sync.
I think I'm a little confused about where the potential problem in it is. Is there a reason that like it's not doable to just like stand up a new bucket and copy things over that I'm missing?
I think that's my question. Is it
Okay.
that easy? Is it that easy? Basically, we sync all the trial job results, and Deck is capable to basically say, okay, this is the past job you have
Right.
for the 7 days, and we say, okay, yeah, that's right, and this is the link because you have to basically, yeah, how Deck and Spyglass will try to reconcile what we think.
Okay. So yeah, the problem I think is less of a new bucket, but more of if there's an existing job, we
Yeah.
try to swap that over to a new bucket. Does Deck or Spyglass know how to fetch from like two buckets depending on the time?
Mm.
Okay, that's a great question. I have no idea actually. Good point.
If you can talk to Angebrat.
Yeah.
Because I think that will affect our decision path. Like, yeah, do we want to do a live migration? And that's like the one thing that basically gonna decide whether or not we do a live migration or a downtime of 1 hour instead of 7 days.
Okay. Out of the question to notes, yeah. Okay. I can ask around. Theoretically, I should also get more experience with Deck anyways, so I can also try and figure that out. Because I know it can handle multiple buckets for sure, but like I haven't actually seen for changing jobs because I don't think people really do that from what I've seen. Cool. Okay, yeah. I think there was also the specific thing Ben linked was a notice that was sent out to Sig-Testing, Kate's Infra, and then I think a couple other lists, like the general one, talking about the job migration specifically to unstick migration. So basically, I think this was already discussed somewhat in the migration plan for like which jobs are kind of blocking migration because they're like stuck on the default cluster or whatnot. But this announcement is more specifically a like in order to unblock the prime migration later down the line, all jobs should be moved over to community-owned infrastructure, I believe. With some of the things worked out for any of the ones that are like currently unable to migrate due to blockers on resources. Yeah, I think this is largely informing slash to kind of make the timeline on that particular part clear. But if anybody hasn't seen this and like wants to point people to it, that thread is a good layout of.
I did make an update to the cluster migration hack script in test infra, so it'll spit out some HTML that I'm hoping hopefully this week. I need to understand a little bit more how I'm going to do this, but I'll have a periodic job probably once a day to generate that HTML, put it in a bucket that we can host somewhere. So we'll have a URL that we can send folks to. That'll contain a list of all the jobs that are still running on the Google cluster.
And that's on the entire Kate's Prow instance, or?
We can put that in Gates Infra Grid cluster. I feel like we just want to open a pull request with those job, having a markdown page and say, okay, this is the list of the bucket instead of trying to make that public through a website.
Yeah, it's all static HTML. Just need not like behind a web server or anything. Just a static page in a bucket, right?
Yeah, sense? The problem with the bucket is like you have to basically put some permission configuration and make that public. It's not a bad thing, but just a markdown file would be great. Like it's just for the community. We're not basically want to and especially we just want to more like advocate to job owners that the migration is happening. So we should have basically say, okay, this is the list, like, okay, this is the one thing you need to touch for the migration, and that's it. If nothing's happened, if you can touch it, talk to Gates Infra Sig-Testing and we'll see what's blocking, what's your technical blocker. If there's a non-blocker, we can give you the path to basically unblock yourself for the migration.
So sorry, I missed that for like what you recommend as far as like where we should.
Yeah, create and just put a markdown file in the test infra, the config job path. Basically, let me put that in some chat. Or put that even in kits.io. That's also fine. Oops. As long as there's a markdown page somewhere in either Gates Infra or kits.io repo, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and that's fine. I can update some markdown. That's no problem. But I guess the idea or the hope was to like regenerate this, periodically, right? Like once a day or on some kind of frequency. So as we work off jobs, it'll stay somewhat updated. So like if we put it in K8.io, do you just want like a new like pull request?
Yeah, that's what we do. We have a periodic generating a trail for the GCP infrastructure that basically say, okay, you have the GK cluster upgrade. The script we just create a new PR, override everything, and we'll just so we do that all the time.
Okay, all right. Can you?
Because the good thing about basically put that in a sort of like put that in a markdown file is basically you have an history, so you have a trail of changes.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have an example of a proud job that creates a pull request? Is that something?
Yes, we have a tooling for that, but you don't need because GitHub CLI can now do that for us. Basically, before GitHub CLI was a thing, Test Infra used to have a tooling for that basically create pull requests. But if you have the GitHub CLI, that should be fine.
Okay.
I need to check. I think there's a script doing that. I will check.
Okay. Yeah, because do we have the GitHub CLI
there's an image having that. Let me.
Okay. Yeah, that's great then. Yeah, I'm trying to take myself out of the loop, right? I'd like to automate, this to run. I don't have to create a pull request every day.
Yeah, that seems fair.
that being said, hopefully it's all temporary because at least by August 1st.
Yeah, maybe it'll be done by the time that you make these updates.
Hopefully. I know Arnaud was saying before the recording started that Chaos is coming along. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, Chaos will be done, and that's a huge portion of remaining migrations.
That's awesome.
Of like the roughly 1,000 jobs we have remaining, I think 600 of them are Chaos.
Yeah, running, but the project definition is just 500. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll take that action to set up the automations and host it somewhere in KTIO.
Yeah. Is there anything else folks want to say on the proud migration topic? Cool. I think with that, we are at the end of the agenda, but if anybody has any additional items that they want to discuss, now is a good time to speak up. Is there anything else that folks want to discuss? All right, I think with that, we can go ahead and call it adjourned and give folks some time back. So good to see y'all. Thanks for coming. Hope KeepGoing goes well in a couple weeks. All right, take care.
Bye, thanks.